Alright, what's good guys? Welcome back to another video. As you guys can tell by the title, we're going to be going over the Ifvg setups of this past week, ranging from or starting on December 8th, which was Monday, and then going all the way to today, which is December 12th. Honestly, there's been a lot of people saying December price action has been pretty bad. However, I think the opposite. It hasn't been that bad. Every single month has good and bad days. December has been kind of 50-50 so far, but the good days have been very, very good, and the setups have been very, very clear. So we'll go over them. Honestly, this week overall wasn't really that bad. I did take 3 setups this week. I think I went 2 wins, 1 loss, and I'll go over that again when we go over all the Ifvg setups. So with that being said, without further ado, let's jump right into the video. All right, so coming into Monday, I had a pretty neutral bias due to the fact that we were kind of just accumulating on the middle time frames. We had this nice accumulation zone, and we have 2 targets. Okay, we can either target this high or this 1 hour unfilled fair value gap below. So essentially, whatever one got hit first, I would be targeting the other one. So if we come up and manipulate higher, take out this high first, I will then be going ahead and targeting all this low resistance liquidity along with this unfilled gap, and then vice versa. If we come down and hit this unfilled gap first, I would like to see how price reacts off of it. If we start displacing through it, I can be like, okay, then we're going to go to these lows down here. However, if we start respecting it, then I can be like, okay, we're going to go to this high and this high, whatever the case may be. However, at 9:30, right as market open, we ended up manipulating higher, creating a double SMT. As you can see, here's NASDAQ. Let's go on over to ES. ES did not come and take out these 820 highs, nor did it come and take out these 2 a.m. highs as well, or like these 2:45 a.m. highs. And you can see both of those highs got swept out on NASDAQ. From there, we got an immediate reaction. We got a 4-minute Ifvg. And this trade would have been break even for me. I would have been break even at this internal low right here, trying to target all this LR and this unfilled 1 hour gap. Let's take a look at it on the 1 minute. As you can see, if you guys didn't go break even, this would have been a banger play and you would have won. However, I would have went break even. I did not end up taking this trade, but I would have ended up going break even. And TP would have been smacked anyway. So all in all, a pretty nice trade to start off the week. However, like I said, I wanted to see how price reacted off this 1 hour unfilled gap. If we ended up start displacing through it, I can assume, okay, maybe we're going to go towards this sell side liquidity down here. Or if we ended up respecting it, then we could go up and target these relatively low highs that got created up here. As you guys can see, we ended up displacing right through it. Okay. And at this point in time, I'm not really looking for anything until right about here. Okay, so the reason I started looking for something right about here was because we left relatively equal lows with the sell side liquidity right here, which was 1 hour lows. And then we also had a unfilled 15-minute resting right beneath it. Okay, so at this point in time, I'm waiting for a retrace either into a 5 or 15-minute fair value gap, and then I'm looking for my entry model from there. And we also got a retrace into our lower time frame equilibrium leg. So this looked really, really solid. And I'll give it about an A setup, and I'll explain why it wasn't an A plus in a second. But what did we do here? We ended up getting a 2-minute inversion, about 0 ticks of drawdown. If you were holding to this unfilled 15-minute or this external sell side right here, I would definitely go break even at this internal low. And let's go ahead and see how this plays out. As you can see, 1, 2, and 3 all get smacked with about, 1 tick of drawdown. So that being said, the reason why I think this was an A-rated setup instead of an A plus is because we had a unfilled 15-minute gap get created right at our stop loss, and typically we don't really want that on our stop loss. So at that point in time, that is why I would give it an A instead of an A plus. But overall, still a pretty solid trade as well. Went and smacked TP. The draw on liquidity was very, very significant, so that is why I would be looking at this as well. So moving on over to Tuesday, this was my favorite day of the week, even though I did end up going break even on this day. I did not take a win, but I was coming into this morning bearish until previous day low got hit, and then I wanted to see an SMT off previous day low, and then we can go ahead and target all of this low resistance liquidity right here. So don't worry about these SMTs yet. We'll get into that. Let's see how market opened. Let's see what market open did. As you can see, we ended up manipulating lower right at market open, and then we ended up getting, I believe it was a 2 or 3 minute, it was a 2-minute Ifvg targeting these relatively equal highs right here. And on ES, they were actually equal highs. So this was a beautiful, beautiful model. If you guys took profits at these equal highs, you would have won. However, I ended up going break even, and I was trying to target all this low resistance liquidity to the left of us. And my final TP was actually at this high right here. Some people had their take profits to this wick. whatever the case may be, I ended up getting break even on this trade, which kind of sucked because it was the first S tier setup I've seen in a very, very long time. I've seen A plus setups, but this was the first S tier. It was exactly what I wanted to see. I wanted to see price manipulate lower. We had a clear draw on liquidity with this. Like I said, I was bearish until previous day low got hit. We ended up sweeping out previous day low, creating an SMT. So we had that previous day low SMT and then got an immediate V-shaped recovery with a 2-minute inversion targeting this clear draw liquidity. I was a little irritated because typically I will take profits at anything over a 1-to-1, which this was a 1.26 RR. However, I got a little greedy and I ended up paying the price. However, we did have news come out. I believe it was either at 9:45 or 10 o'clock this day. Let's take a look. Okay, so we ended up having news at 10 a.m. And what we ended up doing is we ended up coming out and resweeping this high right here. And not only did we resweep that high, well, we also had low resistance liquidity, we had data lows, and then the LR right here as well. So we ended up coming and getting a resweep. We also had this lower time frame AMD model that was happening. We have accumulation, manipulation, and then we got a clean V-shaped recovery again off this 1-minute inversion. And the reason why I took this was because of how clean it was. So I forgot. I actually ended up taking 2 trades and they were both break even. Let's see how this ended up playing out. And we kind of ended up getting chopped around for a decent amount of time. I didn't end up holding. I ended up closing profits like right here. So I ended up making like about $30-something on this day. Overall, I was just counted as a break even. Didn't necessarily have a break even point until these lows got hit. I made this my new break even point. And then from here, I just seen us chopping around, and about like around like this area right here, I ended up just full closing in profit about like $30. I was like, yeah, I'm not dealing with this at this point in time. I took my 2 trades of the day already. However, there was one more setup. There was a 1046 2-minute again targeting data lows, and the reason why I like this was because of these SMTs that we created. So we're still accumulating, we're still generating, creating all this LR. And then what do we end up doing? We end up coming up, resweeping this high right here, which is perfectly fine, and then we ended up creating a SMT with the previous day pre-market and then the previous day London highs as well. Okay, if you come up over here we go, we ended up sweeping out London highs from previous day, and then, or was this previous session? Oh, it was just previous session. Sorry, it wasn't previous day. It was just previous session, and then we ended up not sweeping out this candle as well. I don't know what the hell that candle was overnight. As you can see, ES came and took out both, and then we got another V-shaped recovery right here. I did not go ahead and enter off this because I already took my 2 trades on the day. Here is the inversion. My stops would have been above the last 1 minute for value gap right here, and then you can again go ahead and target data lows with all this LR. Very, very clean draw on liquidity. However, I don't think this ended up playing out. And it is what it is. Like I said, you guys have a 70% win rate, which means 30% of the time that your A plus model presents itself, you're going to lose. But overall, all 3 of these trades were pretty valid. So like I said, a pretty good start to the week so far. December hasn't been that bad. I believe one of these days was FOMC. I think it was Wednesday. And let's go over that right now. So same thing coming into this morning as it was Tuesday. I was pretty bearish until previous day low got hit, and then I wanted to see how price reacted off that level. So immediately at 9:30 open, we created these relatively equal highs, and then we ended up manipulating lower, creating an SMT with previous day low, exactly what I wanted to see. And then we had a 3-minute fair value gap right here. I believe there was a 1-minute IFVG as well, but the way I trade is I like to trade the highest time frame inversion in the manipulation leg. So it would have been the 3-minute IFVG right here. We ended up getting the inversion, and again, same thing. I could have took profits, but it was under a 1-to-1 this time, so therefore I just went break even, and I was holding to data highs. We had pre-market data highs at 8:30, and a whole bunch of LR to the left of us. I went ahead and tried to target that, and I ended up getting break even for the second time this week. So overall, the setups have been there, but I haven't been making any money because I've been trying to hold to that external draw. That's something I can journal and work on. It is what it is, right? But this was a plus setup. And then we ended up getting 2 5-minute inversions, and let's go over these real quick. So we're accumulating. What do? We manipulate lower, okay, sweeping out this low, but still holding the previous day low SMT, and I don't believe we had an SMT. Oh, we did have an SMT at these lows, as you can see. Yes, did not take out this low. Nasdaq did, creating a double SMT scenario, and then I believe we got a 5-minute inversion. With this 5-minute inversion, I did go ahead and take this, and I did end up losing. And like I said, my draw was towards these data highs up here. But this, thank God, this was only an eval play. It is what it is. We had data highs and also this LR to the left of us that we could have went ahead and targeted. And I believe the reason for this failing, because even though we ended up inversing that 5-minute gap, we still had this giant 3-minute that I should have went ahead and waited for us to inverse as well. But look what price ended up doing. I ended up getting stopped out. We ended up getting one more resweep of all these lows down here. We ended up taking out previous day lows from earlier, so no more SMT. However, after that, we then got another 5-minute inversion, and what ended up happening? Bull run to the upside for the rest of the day. It's kind of choppy. My final TP would have been just right here. I didn't end up taking this because this was my second trade of the day. Most of these people probably would have got break even because they would have went break even at this internal high, trying to target this high right here. And as you can see, you would have got stopped out at break even perfectly. However, if you did hold and you did not go break even, and your target was right here, you would have took a dub on this. This looked very, very clean. A nice little scalp to end Wednesday off, and the rest of Wednesday we ended up chopping in the morning because we had FOMC in the afternoon. Like I said, all these inversions are just for the morning session. I don't trade afternoon. So with that being said, let's move on over to Thursday. So coming into Thursday, I was leaning a little bit more bearish, even though this does look like a market maker buy model. The reason why I was personally leaning bearish is because if you come to the hourly, we ended up retracing into this hourly for value gap, which I believe might have been also a 4-hour for value gap as well. Yeah, we were also respecting this minor 4-hour for value gap. And on top of that, we came and hit our higher time frame equilibrium of this range. So it looks like just a higher time frame retrace, and then we can continue lower, and that's exactly what we ended up getting. We got this 5-minute inversion pre-market. I don't trade pre-market. I always wait till market opens. But we ended up creating an SMT with these 830 highs. Here's NASDAQ. Here's ES. ES ends up taking them out. We got the 5-minute inversion. This would have looked really, really clean if it was at 9:30, but I don't trade pre-market. And you could have had one of two options. You could have either targeted this unfilled, this unfilled 15-minute gap right up here for just about a 1-to-1, or you could have went break even at that unfilled gap, targeted all this LR down here and this unfilled hourly. And from here, same thing as previously in the week, I wanted to see how price reacts off this hourly. If we start respecting it, I can assume, okay, maybe we are going to come back up and we are going to complete this market maker buy model. But if we start displacing through it, I can assume, okay, we truly are in a sell model. And that's exactly what ended up happening. We ended up being in a sell model, taking out all this LR down here. And at the same thing, what did we do earlier on in the week? Well, we left 4-hour relatively equal lows on NASDAQ and on ES. What did we do on ES? We ended up leaving a significant draw on liquidity with 4-hour equal lows. Wasn't like they were relative. They were definitely equal lows right here. Okay. So this is a significant draw. So at this point in time, I was then looking for shorts to take towards this, and we just did not end up getting that. So like I said in my trade recap on Thursday, what I've tended to see is when one asset is trading higher like this, they will come and sweep out like the market open highs, creating another SMT, and the other asset will come and retrace into a fair value gap. Okay, further confirming your bearish bias in this sense. There was a bullish example of this, I believe, last week. But as you can see, now we have an SMT with this high and this high up here. And what did we end up retracing into? We ended up retracing into a 15-minute for value gap right here. And I believe there was another 5-minute. And the reason why this was like a B+ rated setup, I know I've been only going over A's rated setups now, but the reason I'll give this a B+ is because we had a unfilled, I believe it was a unfilled 5-minute gap resting at our stop loss. So we had the unfilled 5-minute gap resting right here. Nor did we put in a wick to this 5-minute candle, which I don't like entering if we don't put in wicks to candles, because chances are that very next candle or a couple candles after that will come and re-put that wick in up here. But we did have a clean draw with this unfilled 5-minute right here. We rejected this 15-minute, and then we also had the SMTs happening up here with the market open highs, and then also the higher time frame highs as well. So this is what it looked like. Triple SMT scenario, 15-minute retrace, and then a 5-minute inversion. Here's the inversion right here. It was actually double inversion. Shit. Like I said, I didn't trade Thursday, but this was really the only setups that presented itself, and I really wanted to see these lows get revisited again. However, we ended up saving that for today, which is Friday. So with that being said, let's get into Friday. So coming into this morning, I was leaning super bearish because not only do we have a previous day high SMT that got created earlier on in the session at about midnight-ish, We also got a retrace into, hold on, give me a second, into this 1 hour bearish for value gap right here. And then we had clear targets lower. This was really the main reason why I was pretty bearish, was because of these draws right here. And then also, yes, still had those equal lows from the previous day. So I wanted to see this get taken out before the end of the week, and that's really exactly what we got. If you guys watch my trade recap, I did not wake up on time today. I did not plan on trading. And then I got on the charts and I looked, or I seen that I missed this fucking beautiful setup. This was another S tier setup as well. And the reason for that being, even though we had this SMT at the lows right here, the higher time frame draw is what really mattered. So this SMT did not matter. We also had a unfilled 5-minute fair value gap right here, resting. And then at market open, we ended up coming up and sweeping out these 5-minute intermediate highs, creating an immediate V-shaped recovery, 2-minute inversion. And like I said, the draws were just super, super beautiful. If you wanted to hold it to these 5-minute fair value gap right here, that would have smacked as well. Or if you just wanted to take profits at this internal sell side, that is perfectly fine. Or some of you guys might have just balls of steel and hold it all the way down here for this 200-point move and a 1-to-8 RR. Let's see how this played out. I believe this would have ended up hitting as well. Yeah, we ended up just shitting the bed all day today. I was looking for a 5-minute retrace in order for me to get in on this. However, I just couldn't end up finding it. We ended up getting like a 4-minute retrace right here, but that's not the way I trade. If I'm going to take a continuation model, it's going to be a 5-minute at minimum, or a 15-minute for value gap can get hit as well. And from there, that was really the only thing I seen. I believe we ended up just selling off the rest of the day. For a no news Friday, we ended up tanking about 500 points. So after I seen my draw that I wanted to see get hit for the day, I was pretty much off the charts. Didn't really care about anything else. Yeah, we continued lower, and there might have been like a 5 or 15-minute for value gap that got hit right here. The only reason why I wouldn't give this as an A+ is because of how premium we were. We ended up hitting a 15-minute for value gap, also hitting a 5-minute, and then we got a 1-minute inversion out of it, I believe, and it ended up being a L, even though we would have got stopped out and it would have went straight to our take profit. Stops at the swing highs, take profit to these internal lows with where all the LR is at, would have got stopped out by a tick, and price would have ran to our TP. That's just why I just don't like trading later on in the day. Like this happened at like 10:50ish. Price action is pretty unpredictable, not as clean. However, this 2-minute up here was super, super beautiful. Like I said, if you guys have balls of steel and held it all the way down here, congratulations to you. I was pretty irritated. I didn't wake up this morning for it. But it is what it is. It happens, whatever the case may be, right? Can't do nothing about it. Didn't take the setup, so whatever. Stay hands off for the day. Go into the weekend. Have a good weekend, and then we'll come back on Monday. So with that being said, that'll be all for this week's IFVG review. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, or possible setups that I missed and you guys want me to grade, leave them in the comments. I'll go ahead and respond to your comments. If you guys want to up your allocation, use code LoeGpa on Loose Trades. Link is in the description. If you want to join the free Discord, link is in the description for that as well. Hope you guys enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you guys back tomorrow, actually, with another video.